now, guys. Everyone, I think I'm supposed to press that, right? Welcome, everyone, to the Woodside Highlands Road Maintenance District Resident Advisory Committee meeting. I officially call the meeting to order at 6:18 p.m. Roll call, Teresa Godfrey here, Matt King.
Here.
Frank Crow, Jean Isaacson, Kim McDonald, and George Schul. George has graciously agreed to act as secretary for the meeting. Can we tell who's attending by this thing?
It's just me on the Zoom.
Okay. Because I believe that Frank was planning on attending by Zoom, so he'll probably join us in a bit. Okay, oral communications for items not on the agenda. Are there any items that are not on the agenda that someone would like to bring forward?
Nope.
And I'd like just to bring up that for our sister organization, the Woodside Highlands Improvement Association, there's been some activity with the Firewise program and a larger community with a potential of joining these other communities to put together a community-wide application. And we've had a couple of conversations. Jean Isaacson has been involved with that, as have I. Information has gone out to the Woodside Highlands Improvement Association board. Some of you are a member of that board, and it seems to have engendered very little feedback at the moment. Approval of the minutes from October 19th, 2023. Those were attached to the agenda. Are there any comments, additions, changes to the minutes?
Nope, no changes.
Can I hear a motion to accept as submitted? Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Great, thanks. New business. Road striping bid, quality striping. Do we want to wait till Frank gets here?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, great. Trinity Swale discussion. We received a bid from Bortolotto, and Tim and Frank have been involved with that as well as myself. Tim, do you feel comfortable talking about that?
I think the bid's a little expensive. I think they want to redo the road more than what we want the road to be redone as. We basically just want the swale to be raised a little bit. You carry a little bit more water from overtopping in the low spots. I think 9.3 is a bit extensive to do that. It looks like they want to reshape that road, and whether that will feed water into the downhill properties there and create a bigger problem than what is there now is questionable. So I think we need to keep grinding away on this little project.
Do you think it's worth going back to them and asking them to redo the bid with what we would prefer, which is a much lower swale?
Yes, I do. I think that would be a good idea. Just to work on the height of the hump at the swale.
Right.
Is all we really want to have done.
You want to contact Walter?
I'll take care of that.
Okay, great. I'll get into the resculpturing with them later on in the agenda.
Okay.
Anybody else have any comments on the Trinity Swale? Yeah.
Right, and it would tilt the road so the water would run into the downhill properties.
Mm.
Probably true.
Yeah, I think the thing we need to keep in mind too is that we're gonna have to complete the paving repair work up there at some point, which is probably what we'll talk about later. If we want to do some more completes, then maybe we have Bordello come back at that time and we just put it as part of that repair. Survive. Next phase of the paving, yeah. Next phase of the paving.
Well, I'll see what Robert and Walter, say about doing a reduced bid on just the
Yeah, no harm in asking.
tightening the swale.
They might be willing to do that.
We'll find out.
We'll find out. Okay, anybody else have anything to add on Trinity Swell?
We haven't talked to Bay Area paving, have we?
Yes, we did, but that was gonna be part of a much larger bid, and to say, forget everything else, just do this little tiny bit seemed to be an insult if we want to get future work from them. So it seemed like a bad idea.
So we never did go back and ask them just specifically for this little bit after they had submitted a whole big bid for
Right.
several
Right.
items.
Basically everything that the trench work guys did, particularly wherever.
Right.
Well, I think what we gotta think about is, we're gonna have the next outreach to the paving companies coming up soon, for the next round. And so maybe we just make sure we include them as part of the conversation and say, hey, we have this near-term project here, but we need this longer term. We'd like you to come out again. You did a great job last time. To provide another bid, obviously not necessarily give them the work until they tell us what it's gonna cost, but yeah.
Well, that's true, because that section of concrete was gone, and so that would create turbulent water going through there, which would make overtopping it more like.
So for now, we're possibly going back, possibly not going back. Bortolotto, maybe we're including this in bids for paving. I'm not quite sure. how to
Well, I
tie
think we
this
go
up.
back and, so what I was recommending was that we go back and we ask Bordelotto. There's no harm in doing that. We can tell them, though, that we do have this other paving estimate that we're gonna be looking for. And I think it's a good carrot for both Bay Area Paving and Bordelotto. So reach out to them now. We can just tell them that we're gonna reach out to them shortly for the larger repair work.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a good carrot and we can get the conversation going now. Yeah.
Anybody else have anything to add on Trinity? Leaning Tree, 45 Santa Maria. Just to recap, we've had this tree monitored now for several years. We've got some residents who are concerned about the tree. The latest was we had a request by Bonnie Sibley to take a look at the tree, have it evaluated. Jean contacted Bartlett, which was the original McClanahan, thank you. And after getting a date, having everything set up, they called, and after a conversation, they decided that they would not evaluate the tree because we could not clearly determine who owns the tree. So what did happen, though, was several days later, through the regular ongoing pruning that PG&E is doing, that the tree was significantly pruned. So yeah, they took quite a lot of the foliage off the top and off the side to lighten up the side that leans into Santa Maria. they took a good portion of the tree. I mean, it's a whole tree, it's a big tree. And I kiddingly had stopped there and said to them, gee, would you like to just
Finish it off.
cut it? And they said they really couldn't do that, but that they would prune it as carefully as they could. So it has been pruned, and I think that's really important to at least document in our minutes that the tree has, as of, you know, just a couple of days ago, was pruned significantly. And clearly it had been evaluated by the PG&E tree people, and they felt it was a candidate for pruning and not taken down. Yes, they are, but if they see a tree that is in jeopardy of falling, they do take that into consideration. It's the same sort of. Nobody really wants to. They need to know whose tree it is. It's actually, it's actually far back from the road when you walk and take a look at it. It looks when you're driving that it's very close to the road, but when you are on the road itself, it's at least 3 to 4 feet back. I haven't measured. Okay. Don't know who owns the tree.
Let's just cut it down. House across the street. They gotta figure out who to sue. And what if it is on ours? They change though. She hasn't operated for half a year now.
Exactly. Well, thank you, Mike. Okay, seriously, is there anything more that we want to discuss about this tree at this point? Okay. Okay, Mirror by 31 Santa Maria. This was originally brought up by, I'll get there in a minute. I think it was Kaisa, Kaisa Tabor, who was trying to turn into Marge the Stabler's driveway and found it to be difficult as the traffic was coming down the road to see if traffic was coming before turning. Since that time, Jean, I think you've had some experience in that same. Property. You cannot see coming that way. Traffic to be very bad. So just like the first curve in the nose, it would be the third curve. They're, you know, checking it out the other day too, walking down the middle, so it's conveniently located. One pole right there, and then I thought, wait, you know, here's another thing about a mirror, a telephone pole up in the he doesn't know anything and stuff. But I think some three of us, could go out there and go to the traffic time and hold a mirror up and stand in two different places, whether you're going to be car A or car B, and see. I mean, it's really an impossible for the woman who lives there is older and she's so three of us going to go out and see what it was practicing.
Yeah, so I looked at that as well, and I thought it's not as bad as it sounds. I think it's like, you know, if you take the shortest possible route, it's actually, yeah, I can see it what is being difficult, but if you actually make an effort to actually, if you're really concerned and you really want to drive just a little bit, you have plenty of space to do. This is just like do another like 10 feet, make a little turn to the forest, and then you have to. I think it's so. On one hand, I see what you mean. At the second part is like kind of like, with a little bit, if you're really worried about it, I think you can make it work by driving a little bit up, making the turn in. Yeah, but it's, yeah. Don't you think it's, don't, okay, so if we hang, then I looked at mirror options and I, first of all, the power pole is not an option, so I, thought of, actually the mailbox pole where you could just hang something. But like a person who drives up the first time will not see the mirror. Is actually no option. So I think it's just realistically like, I think we're happy to support somebody who has a real issue, but this is like, lived there for many years now.
Probably
50?
50.
Yeah, and so the road didn't change, and the turn didn't change, and there's plenty of space, so kind of a judgment call. Do we want to hang a mirror at every driveway kind of thing where it gets difficult, or I think it's just right a little bit in the middle. I think if you're really, if you're there, it's like my understanding was the caretaker who was making this complaint. If he comes there more often, he should have figured it out. That he just
No, it was actually a
Willing.
friend. It was a friend who lived on the hill. He no longer lives on the hill.
okay.
It was,
Yeah.
but
So I think
made
it's-
enough to me to
We can hang a. Yeah, but we can hang a mirror there, but at the same time, it's like everything on the hill, it's like these are not ideal roads. I feel really good.
I'm on the sympathetic side. I'm like, let them be comfortable in their last years of life. Just, what, a $50 mirror?
Yeah, and then that's my point. So I would say.
We don't
if
need to
wanna
maintain
hang
it after she
across,
goes.
I would just hang it right under the mailbox. Well, you can point it just into the hill, and then from the mailbox. Yeah.
Let's just give it a try and things and those places and see if there is a spot that works and we can have some.
So I think that's the thing, we can just, get a mirror mount on the mailbox, which is a first starting point without moving too many things around, like maybe finding another pole or keeping another. You see how that works.
Can we get a mirror for $100?
That's what I was
I don't
I'm like,
think
this
it's
is like a,
I think it was 250.
this, yeah,
Last time we got one was 250.
yeah, the
something
mirror
like
itself
that.
is gonna be about 250. We're gonna pay $50 for the posts. Pay another 10 for concrete, right?
So that's,
And then you got labor to do all the install.
that's $500. I think we're looking at $500.
Yeah, I think that's probably a reasonable estimate. Not a small effort to put it. I mean, so I think I'm not a person, who's, I think, very good with like visual lines and so forth, right? Or any kind of expert in that respect, but I do walk the hill around the credit. And I've never had any problems. Cause I usually use that area to cross to the outside.
Yeah.
So I don't get hit by a car as I'm coming down. So I'm walking around the outside of the crypt. So I always cross the street right there. And I've never had any problems. And granted, I'm always outside the car, so I'd be able to hear if there's a car coming down. So maybe I got that advantage, right? But
You're not gonna hear.
yeah, so, all I can base on is my own personal evidence. And I've never turned into that driveway, so I can't speak to that either. It seems like a small use case to me where we have, a couple individuals. Cause Gene, I don't think you're going there too often, right? I mean, I know you did it, but probably not frequently, right? Yeah. Maybe that turn around because you drove past your house. Yeah. So to me, it seems like a high cost for this, like I said, a limited use case.
I don't hear a consensus. Do we want to have a motion entertained and then either vote up or down? Mm-mm. I think this is gonna die for lack of a motion or a second. So I think sounds right now that we don't have enough.
Let's continue it. I need to look at this personally. I neglected to check it out first.
Yeah.
Let's continue.
The difference is if you are driving in your truck, it's very different because of stuff. So if I sit in my van, like, it's not a problem, right?
Yeah.
If you actually,
That's
And then
a lower
a
car.
lower car, then you actually, then the in your truck, you don't.
I suggest that two people. Look and do a little. Well, actually, we had George actually be the person who was kind of leading this up. Because George was, actually has very pertinent experience dealing with lenses and eyes. You.
Yeah, Georg, she should fill out your LinkedIn page.
He actually does. So, I mean, if anybody's going to be involved, I mean, I'm certainly happy to have everyone involved, but I think he needs to be the guy who's at least saying, yeah, from a angle standpoint, it makes sense.
And
So,
see, with the preface that I gave on my comments, I don't need to be involved.
there you go.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, are we kind of all right with this mirror? We're not purchasing it yet. We're gonna take a look at it and George will consult with anybody who has some questions about angles or how it might work.
Have some
Okay.
pressure treated, we could just use that for a post. Saving pennies there. I didn't realize the mirrors were that expensive.
Yeah.
They're not very glamorous for how much they cost.
Okay, Matt, I have you down next for paving.
So the short update is that we haven't met yet.
Okay. Well, we just-
But so this is about the time of year where we usually start to get some of these conversations kicked off. I did take a look and I don't see Frank is on. So yeah, I don't see Frank on. So this is probably more for Georg and I, but so I did take a look at the prior paving work to see obviously what was left. We have the upper half of Santa Maria that really kind of starts around 105, then goes all the way up to the water tank. We have all of Trinity, and we have all of Tynan, and then the upper half of Russell past the water tank. So we have a few things I think we can consider, and this is what's going to come down to, I think, financial options. This may be what we discussed with Bay Area Paving and Bartolotto and the other folks that we have come in, but I think it's really between those two, given the fact that we did this previously and we found that most are either specialists, right? They do kind of one thing or the other. And so nice thing about Bay Area Paving was that they did both the slurry seal and the base work. So we'll reach out to them, understand, I think, if we want to just do the completion of Santa Maria up to the water tank in 2024. And then in 2025, we can finish off Russell, Tynan, and Trinity. Or we can just combine those two projects.
Yes, depends on the finances and how things are looking.
Right. If we did them separate, it means we would do Santa Maria in 24. Sorry. Yeah, it'd be Santa Maria. We do Santa Maria in 24. We do the other three, Russell, Tynan, and Trinity in 25. And then we would be due for a slurry seal replacements on lower Santa Maria for the schedule we had set for ourselves earlier, which was every 5 years we would do a slurry seal. Which would be 2026, because we did the lower Santa Maria work in 21. So 5 years would be 2026. So it lines up for that. What I was going to mention, if Frank had given his update on the striping work, is that we'd probably want to take that into consideration if we're going to be in 3 years doing a slurry job on lower Santa Maria. How is that going to impact the striping work? So we want to keep that in mind. The other thing I think we'll want to keep in mind is whether or not Cal Water has any additional work on our hill plans. We know that we did the Russell work this last year. I don't know what the future Cal Water plans are for our hill though, and that might dictate where we're going to pave.
I can contact them and see if they had something in the works.
Okay.
I don't know of anything other than the very small area outside the upper water tank that they talked about paving at some point. But that was not in the budget and it was not going to happen immediately. So I don't know if it's been put in the budget, but that won't affect much of anything. It might a little bit with upper Russell.
Mhm.
But that's the only thing that I'm aware of that I can remember.
So those are highlights. I think in terms of setting action to this, Georg had reached out to those guys previously. I think it's my turn to give him a breather unless he wants to do it. So I could take the action to reach out to Bartolotto and Barrier Paving initially, and then we can see if there's a third based on our notes. Unless you wanted to do it.
No, I would, let's have a subcommittee.
Let's have a subcommittee meeting. Yeah, okay, let's do that then. That works. Okay.
I created the 24th.
Oh, you created a folder today? Okay, good. Thanks. No. We had about 5 last time around, but Alpine was not on that list from what I recall.
Alpine, if I'm not mistaken, Jean, you had tried to contact them and their voicemail was full. And so you were never able to even make a contact. Maybe now that things are quieting down, then you may be able to, or we may be able to get a little bit more entree. I think that was the issue with them and that they were okay with them.
Yeah, we did not. We got 10 of them here and they were not on the list. Bortolotto was also not on the list back then.
I don't know if they want to deal with us. I shouldn't say that. They continue to return my phone call and I'll give that update when we're ready for that. Is there anything more that we need to discuss on future paving?
No, so it sounds like what Georg was saying was that we should plan to have a paving subcommittee meeting between now and we're thinking maybe a January. Yeah, having a subcommittee meeting in January. Okay, so have a subcommittee meeting in January. All right.
Great.
Yep.
Anything else on paving? Anybody want to? Okay, committee activities. We're coming to the end of our 3rd year of operation. It's staggering that we've been doing this for 3 years separately from Woodside Highlands Improvement Association.
Congratulations.
All of us.
Here's your gold watch.
Yeah, no. Anyway, I wanted to just thank all of you for your service. And, since I see this as kind of a renewal every year, but it's not a, you're not indentured servants. And so I do want to make sure that each and every one of you knows that 1, your services are greatly appreciated, and 2, that if you're thinking that you want to get off this committee, to please let me know. As you know, we do have an opening. We had 2 applicants, and to be honest, I've been holding those applicants for 2 reasons. One is that the town was going through a lot of transition, And it was very unclear at the town level what was going to be the appropriate process for adding people to the committee. So that was kind of put that as a whole, really. And then the other thing was that I thought we could do hopefully a better job of stimulating some additional interest in the committee. If not, twisting Mike's arm one more time to see whether he would be willing to rejoin. But I just don't want to see. And since we're being recorded, I do have to be honest about that. So anyway, so that's the status of our committee. And then the final thing is, which I think you have known, is that there was a process going on to try to decrease the bureaucratic gobbledygook that committees have to do at the town. And we were only involved in that. We said, we don't want to be a formal committee that has to be recorded and posted and all this stuff if we don't have to. And that there is some thought that maybe we can just go back to the way we used to do it, where, you know, we were able to hold meetings on the Hill. We were able to do it with our own Zoom links, and that it didn't require all of the stuff that we're currently going through. I haven't heard anything back from the town yet to see whether that's going to go forward or not. I do have a meeting tomorrow, which unfortunately Matt is not going to be able to join me, but we were meeting with the new town manager, and he wanted to introduce himself to committee members and ask how the committees were doing. So I also wanted to hear whether you felt there was a message you wanted me to bring back to the town manager as far as how things were going.
Is there anybody on Zoom?
No. It's
Yeah,
being,
it's
it's being
You
recorded.
are being recorded, though.
I'm not on the committee, I'm just speaking member.
So for me, it's really the important part is what you said. Having the overburden of doing the recording, I think, or coming down here, but you can on the Hill. So I think these are important things for me. Overall, other than that. Okay.
Just from a citizen's perspective, is there any legal exposure by going back to our little local neighborhood thing? Are we more susceptible to trouble from people, or the town keep us safe from legal action, or how does that?
Well, that's the reason why we became a town committee, was to be able to be sheltered for any of our actions through the town liability process. So that's a very important thing to preserve. So I'm glad you brought that up. If we do it more in a private way, I guess the question would be, are our decisions enough in a public fashion that it would still be in that public domain? And I don't know that I can answer that. I know that we have one resident who would probably challenge that movement back. But for one resident to disrupt the process for 90 households, I think is somewhat unfair.
There's also a collection of committees that are also looking at the same thing. So when I tried to meet with the town manager earlier, there was several of us that they're talking about pulling back on the structure that's in place, and you go from being a full town committee to be, they call it a town manager counselor or something like that. Yeah, and I didn't do a, or I'd say I'm not an expert in all the details, and that's where our conversation is going to pay off. But what they did, what looked like was in there was that most of those protections stay in place. The difference is the amount of structure around recording and showing up here and so forth, right? So maybe to Mike's point, we just make an explicit ask on that question to say, so we're clear, does it mean this, right?
But are we protected if we go back to them?
Right.
If there are.
Understood. Clear, understood, right, absolutely. And I think that's also perhaps some of the hesitancy that we have from other residents joining is that they just don't want to fuss with the potential angst and nastiness, which we've seen on our, just through our little conversation.
It's a thankless job, and then you're getting grief for it too. It's like, I mean,
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
we all come together and be supportive of each other.
And most people are. I think they really are. I think most people are supportive. It's just that one or two that tends to make issues.
I mean, I can't say that I'm champing at the bit to, do Brown Act stuff and, that's not why I came here. So yeah, I think if we simplify it a bit, I think it'd be definitely a good thing that we do have those protections in place. My other thing I'd want to bring up, I think I'm only got a conflict for the first 15. So if I can hustle down after, I'll try and hustle down if you're still around. So I'll text you. He also has a, I don't know if you guys saw this, but he has a coffee with the town manager that afternoon.
Right. That's right.
So there might be some opportunity there to follow up if you're not able to make it at that time as well.
That was a bigger, my understanding.
That's a
that
bigger
was
group.
It was a bigger group and a bigger invitation to
Yeah.
pretty much anybody who wants to
Yeah.
meet the town manager.
I think that the one thing that I was planning to bring up with them was around just ensuring that we continue to be allowed to operate under the guidance that our budget is approved at this point, even though they haven't done a formal approval on our budget, because I think some of these town council decisions around committees and so forth have gotten delayed out. That was something we talked about last time, is that our budget had not been approved by the town yet, even though we had submitted it. That's because I think they are behind schedule on some of these things. So the assumption that we're going to continue to operate as is, that should keep us from having any challenges, I think, in getting things paid and so forth.
Mhm. Anybody else have any input? Let's go back to our old business. Matt, financial report, how are we doing? We spending all of our money?
We're not spending as much as we planned as usual, which is probably a good thing, right? So since the last budget update I gave, we've had 3 submissions that have gone in to reimbursements, all of which were part of the October approval, and then also the subsequent email change order to one that we had to do. So the first was around the dumpsters for the fall cleanup. We budgeted $3,000 for the year. The first invoice came in for the fall, came to $1,342, so a little less than half of the number. So we saw $1,658 for the spring cleanup dumpsters. So we're in good shape there. We had approved $1,000 for the swale repair at 21 Santa Maria. That came in at $951. So we're below that number as well. And then we had the significant swale repair that went down the steep portion of Russell, which I think last meeting we all talked about looked great. The approval we had given at the time was $2,000. It did come in more than expected. Once we got everything cleaned out, you could see just how much damage there was and how much had to be removed. So we had the offline approval via email to add the additional 3543 to it to make it a total of 5543. That was submitted to the town as well. And so all were part of the November check run. So they should have been paid out, but I haven't confirmed with Bruce yet, but they have been submitted. So that leaves us effectively still within the budget we had for obviously the dumpsters. We haven't used any of the miscellaneous tools, which we had $1,000 set aside for, and then the $2,500 we had set aside for administrator discretionary fund. We haven't touched that either. We do have $125K plus a 10% contingency for the phase 3 work, which we haven't touched as well. So when we meet with the pavers, I think that's kind of the bounds that we're going to use to keep ourselves in. I don't have any of the updated financial statements yet, though, so I can't say what we have in the way of revenues. That's it.
With the, I realized that we didn't talk about the slurry seal for the last paving project. Is
Mhm.
that something that you can throw in your bucket to discuss, or is that something you want to bring up, or how do you want to handle that?
I think it's worth a conversation. We can take it at our subcommittee meeting when we meet in January.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, not only, the way I see it, it's not only seeing like the longer then planning with what we started the whole project with. Like
Yep.
how much can we afford, how
Right.
does it-
Okay.
Probably want to be next year, probably also the year after, and when does it start?
When does it go in? Okay.
Yep.
Got it.
Yep.
Thank you, Matt.
Yep.
Anything else? Anybody have any
Well,
questions?
right,
on-
With approval with what you said with the town, the our budget submitted but not officially approved.
Yes. So we had submitted it on time. Well, I think we were actually a month late, but I'd have to go back to my notes. So like it was sometime over the summer, it was July. We had submitted at that point in time, but the town hasn't met to formally approve it yet. We did submit, or sorry, I did send Cindy, who is the finance director with the town. I did send her a note and said, we're going to operate as though it's approved. And she said, yes, that's fine. That's what we've been operating under.
I think everybody's aware that the town has gone through a lot of staff upheaval, and this is part of the outcome.
I can tell Mike likes the finance update because he's gone to his phone.
Yeah.
The one audience member.
Anybody else have, thank you, Matt. Okay, resculpturing Santa Maria Leroy Drainage. I know this is Jean's project. She's so excited. I am proud to say that I have recently been in touch with both Robert Portolotto and Walter, and I have their commitments that they will be coming either Friday or next week. They will give us 24 hours notice to do the job. So it's happening. And it is not happening as it linked with the Trinity project. So it is decoupled from that.
Good.
So I will say that even though it has taken a long time, these folks have been more than gracious. They've always returned my phone call. And although they haven't always had the answer that I'm looking for, they are still talking to us and nice.
Mhm.
So I think that goes a long way. We have people who we just don't get phone calls returned. So, I mean, at least, and they did, to their credit, follow up with the quality striping people, who are the people that we have a bid for the striping of the road, and boost them along so that we did get the bid from them. So I will say that they've been good to work with and really try. They try to keep us satisfied. So that's the resculpturing. Smoot retaining wall, Ken Russell. We came, we saw, we conquered. We had a meeting. Matt, you were there.
I know there was a conquer, but there was.
Well, there was a came, we saw.
Yeah.
Came, we saw, Bruce looked at the wall. I think it's equivocal, I guess, is the best that I came away with the conclusion, is that the wall is leaning somewhat. Bruce threw out, I think it's gonna last 10 years, whether that it's correct or not, who knows?
Well, I took it a little differently.
Okay. I guess we were hearing what we wanted to hear.
All right, well, so I did make a couple notes, I think, just to help, but you please keep me honest because you were also there. So Bruce did come down. This was probably what, a couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
So we invited Bruce to come down, and I think you got there about 10 minutes after he and I had been kind of talking for a bit. Because we did it, so we did have that action from the prior discussion that we'd have Bruce kind of give us an assessment as to what he thought about the shape of the wall was. He did say that the post has failed, because obviously, I mean, you're able to grab it and move it, and the wall's leaning, the post is leaning. So he said the post has failed. You did ask the question. You said, how long do you think this post could last? I took his response more as maybe 10 years, right? It was kind of like an educated guess as opposed to, a statement of fact.
Well, no, I mean, no one's gonna give us a fact. of how
Yeah.
long something's gonna last,
Yeah.
It was because we don't know, and we do see that there is some degradation.
Yeah.
Your assessment as the person who is the construction guy, what do you think?
Yeah.
You can put it in that.
Yeah. So it could last for some period of time, and he said it could last up to 10 years, right?
You
Yeah.
could say.
Yeah. The
The
post.
wall. No, the wall. I was
The
talking
wall?
about the wall.
No, I'm sorry. You're right. It is the wall because the post has already failed. The post is leaning. It's whether or not the post were to fully come down and then the wall itself could become problematic. You're correct. That is what we talked about. Hmm? Yeah, post holds up the wall.
Post is part of the wall.
Yeah.
So it could be possibly replaced with just the one post or. the wall
Yeah.
be replaced. Yeah.
Sure.
What I saw was the same thing happening there as far as the cracking in the asphalt has happened down. Over the fence builders, there's super income. Suddenly all these. Almost everything. That was because the paving, and it was the same thing that the Smiths did, but with new paving. And the pavers just paved up.
Yeah.
And failed, the paving failed because there was never done properly in this place, and they. It's not paving that before, it was another layer lower. And they put new paving that was not, that's the underneath it. The new one was- It isn't even in the block. Pictures. And if you look up the street, there's a parking. Private parking. It's a parking area, so I don't think it's seriously what it's. Big deal with the road committee. I saw that the symptom that suddenly popped up is a superficial symptom. New asphalt.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the thing we need to keep in mind is did it separate because of what's underneath it? Or did it just separate because of other reasons, right? Like it was just poorly poured or some other reason, right? I don't know. I haven't taken a close look at the part you're talking about. The part near the smoots is depressed, right? So that would lead me to believe that underneath it is also probably sunken. The wall behind it's pushed out.
Everything moves.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything that is moving. How much will it move? How fast will it fail completely? None of these issues are obvious.
Yeah. So to that point, the wall could last for years,
Right.
right? And it's where do we want to place our chips, I guess, in terms of our budget dollars at this point in time, knowing that we got projects. So we could make the determination that, hey, it's going to last for years, and that's the stance we're going to take. I think we have probably a few decisions that we can probably come out of all this with, which I think we already are aware of, right? So one of them, we could come to an agreement that Rob owns the wall. And then Rob could choose to do with it as he likes, rebuild it, leave it, build a fence on top of it. I think those are the things that he's probably considered. We can choose that we own the wall. And then we can make a determination if we want to sit on it, as we've been talking about, and make the determination at a later date. If we do that, I think we need to take into consideration the fence that's probably being built within that area. Do we want to ask Rob to not build a fence on that wall? Because They're saying, hey, it's our wall, we just don't want to fix it right now. Which I think then, he may have some questions around where he can build his fence and so forth, right? We can figure that out. We can choose to build it later, or sorry, we can choose to build it now and not worry about the fence concerns. Or we can say that we can't come to a common agreement. And we just kick the can down the road.
A little inside of the fence.
So I think it's the way I say, I think from, the wall, I think the wall, from my perspective, because it's really good.
The survey done, and he asked us to, the shape of the road to accommodate the, if he was sort of garage out. Reshape the road to, I think it's survey was so nice.
We don't have a survey. Yeah.
I think we would have to, I love Matt's kind of logic.
Yeah.
and Layers, but, we don't actually know where the property line is without some kind of a survey. If Rob has a survey, we could, kind of look at it. And if he does not, then I would think that our first task, if he's asking us to repair the wall, is to ask for a survey to be done, and perhaps that would be a shared expense to determine the property line and who's responsible for what. Because without that, going forward, it makes it very difficult to make the decision of whether this is a joint project or a project of the homeowner or the road maintenance district. Exactly.
We kind of did that with the stone wall on Trinity when they originally offered to split it with us. And I think that might be something to consider doing here, offering to split the cost of a couple posts, iron I-beam posts to stabilize the road with the smooths and put the top down the middle as we originally were going to do. I think that would be a good way to approach this.
We don't actually know who could do the work, just as a practical aside. This is the
I think
project.
that's in Jesse's domain.
No.
It's not, we asked.
No,
Yeah.
He doesn't
No.
have anything to do with that.
No, he won't.
Yeah.
That's not a Jesse thing. Bruce said that when he put the last I-beam he put in, he was working with somebody else who has since retired, and he doesn't know who does that work, so that we would actually have to seek engineering companies or whatever to actually do a bid.
Landscaping company.
The first determination, I think, before we think of who will fix it, like, doesn't actually need a fix. And I don't necessarily hear, like, typically we fix something with, even then that something is like, that we don't fix the road up to the last standard. We fix the road if we see something from, if we see a pothole coming up, and then we'll start going. So I don't hear from your description that it's like, this wall is really falling right away. It's like, if I hear that we can give it another 10 years, we err on giving it another.
Yeah, I don't think the road's failing.
Yeah.
I think the question comes in the, so if he chooses to repair his fence in the vicinity of the fence and the wall does fail at some point, then I think we just have to work around that fence at some point. And so we just need to make that determination that we're accepting the fact that we'll work around his fence and we'll repair the wall if it's decided that the wall is even our responsibility when we come back and revisit it after we have some kind of survey.
I hear that it's not, failure is not imminent. It's like everything on the hill will like be some maintenance along the way. And we'll like some time, and then we'll have to discuss when it's actually time to actually fix it. So I think our suggestion would be, you'll fix your fence, and when we get to the discussion about the wall itself, we will have to discussion about that, because then it's always half a wall. That's actually the right of, where's actually the property line? Who's the responsibility? Is it, and then we can start. But I think it's already a premature to have this discussion about repairing the wall. He only sees it like, okay, I'll build a building fence around it. He doesn't see it as an overarching problem, which is like, okay, I'll want to build a fence. If you want to do something on the wall, probably it's good. I haven't looked at it, but just during your description on the second time. Thanks for the information. We think it goes up for another few years. So
Then
then,
it's gonna be done, but when they lower, you know, the post depending. It's not like it's not gonna be.
when it gets time to really work on the wall, the need for doing it, and it's in our responsibility, then we'll make it. We're all for working with neighbors. Urging need for getting. Legal side, our spending for making it long-term work. What I
Anybody want to come to a different conclusion? Okay, so let the minutes reflect all that great summary that George just.
I'm glad you're taking the minutes.
We'll wordsmith it. We'll
He's
wordsmith it.
oh, shoot, I'm doing what? No. Yeah, no, I think that was well said. I think it's a good path forward.
Thank you. And thank you for everybody who's been involved with that. It's not been a very clear process at times. It's been kind of bumpy and lumpy, but we eventually get through. Comcast battery placement follow-up. To my knowledge, we have not received anything formal back from the people about the replacement of the battery pack. New battery pack. So we just know that they were looking at 2 sites. I believe one of them was eliminated. So, but I haven't heard specifically, and I haven't heard directly. So. that's
Oh,
what we're-
well, 2 sites, so I guess if one of them was eliminated. Yeah.
And more recently, we got.
Yes. Okay, whatever. It was, yeah, yes. It's in their bailiwick and they're supposed to get back to us and it's gonna be after the first of the year, so. So the Comcast battery placement follow-up is still pending. The Comcast engineering firm. It's drawing plans and determining feasibilities. We had the final cost of the drain repair, which Matt has covered in the, for Russell, that was an additional, up to, that we spent $5,543 on the Russell drain repair. That was the Russell Trinity, which wound up being, wrong. That was the Russell, steep part of Russell drain repair. That wound up being significantly more than we had thought. And then the drain repair at 21 Santa Maria came under budget. Okay, this is now the drains maintenance. This is Jean and her group of merry elves that get down into the drains and take a look at how things are going. Yeah. F, final cost of drain repair, that was on Santa Maria. Oh, okay. Okay, oh, so you want to do that in there, okay. Okay,
Oh, the whole
okay,
reason I'm here?
okay, 21
Yeah.
Santa Maria, then take it away. I believe we've all received the pictures of the
You guys
drain.
have the pictures that Dean took of me posing?
Yes,
So yeah, based on the flow last year, there's no way that repair is gonna stand what's coming for it. If we get anywhere near what we got last year as far as water. Now I can get my two pictures.
I was gonna say, bear with me.
Uh,
Share screen.
I mean, there was definitely a patch, but it probably needs to be 14 to 16 inches higher to be able to keep the water from entering that property down on Portola Road.
Keep it from overtopping.
So the beautiful man there, hey, look, same hat. So basically where my hand is where it needs to be, because that's how high we had the sandbag stacked and it was still slapping over. The water comes down through that flume like you wouldn't believe and just impacts that corner and just goes vertical. So without a serious barrier there. I mean, it's good that he patched in all the loose stuff, but it needs to go higher. Otherwise, we're gonna be down there every year stacking sandbags on
Where
top of
the
that.
feet are, there was nothing there, it's just dirt.
Yeah.
It had broken away.
Yeah.
The water
yeah,
was
it goes down from.
Yeah, but it was going right through.
Right. That's all we did was patch it. But what do you think about the steel plate where your arm is to keep the water from overtopping?
If we could get it waterproof in there, yeah, this is all.
It's gone.
That's come down and then.
Wasn't there a bunch of like pressure treated kind of like barrier boards that were redirecting? 'Cause you're not gonna, that's a lot of sandbags. I mean, you need to, yeah, you need to build like a wall, I think, to Tim's point.
What do you think about a steel plate there? That's what I'm talking about, to keep them shooting. I mean, a concrete embankment that tall is gonna have to be pretty wide. That's a lot of concrete.
Well, why couldn't it be pressure treat? Can I pepper you with more questions?
So how,
First of all, the volume of. The calibration nucleus, all the way. So, and these. They are part of our maintenance district, although they're aggressive in Dakota Road. Because they are represented and made part of our district logically because that's the maintenance. So we have basically.
their property is in, excuse me, their property is in the maintenance district, their house is not?
Anyway, so it's just one thing that has. Like I have to.
Okay, it just, yeah, okay. Mhm.
Like an 80-degree turn. I mean, ideally, you plastic pipe the whole thing and just keep it enclosed, but that's a whole undertaking.
Plastic pipe can clog.
Well, I'm talking like 24-inch diameter. I don't think that's gonna.
Plastic pipe can clog. Discussion about that.
Anyway, the huge pipe that comes. Feeds everything. making it clear, like, that it is water. So I'm wondering why you can't kind of round the curve there, and don't you sometimes build walls with concrete? It's hard, you can become concrete.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, you'd want to rebar it down into the existing though, so it just didn't push over, right? Yeah.
Between, the Hills property and then Fraser's new house. It was the same thing, all broken up for some, something over in front of people in the winter, and the town said that. We either fix that, or we'll fix it and we'll see the bill. So, really, it's always possible. So, unfortunately, I think looking. Oh, I don't know who's.
To do what? Well, to fix the brakes, that's all he was there to do.
Is that what this all is here? It's like what looks like somewhat new. Yeah.
There
So
were
he
two
kind of filled
brakes.
in the. Yeah, it looks like he filled in the cracks and smoothed it out and so forth.
We just don't, no, we maybe didn't communicate clearly what we wanted.
As it was, you know, again.
This is supposedly an El Nino year too, right? You know, I mean, this could be something. No, you don't know. Yeah. I agree. I think we have an obligation to fix that. Yeah. Mhm. It was clogging. Because it was clogging or just.
So the pipe, yeah, look at the concrete system. You know what I'm saying?
No.
And
Yeah.
you know, it just doesn't. Right, pipe so high. I don't know, I mean, before we get crazy rain. Some way to get it. Keep us not having to worry about it.
So the question I think from here is like, do you want us to call on potential budget, right? And we approve it right away and then we can go for it after and with your suggestion? Or where you want to take it from here?
Yeah, I was gonna say you need a design first. Are we doing cinder blocks? Are we doing just the pressure treat backboard, you know, and some 6x6s behind it? Are we doing the stacked concrete bag? That's a good point. That's a good point. So are we? cinder block?
Oh, we'd have to have a completely flat top on that thing.
Look at that. Tell me what. Something's different.
I mean, that's a good point, right? We'd have to flatten, we'd have to put a base down. So we'd have to form it. You have to rebar it. I mean, I think we're going to rebar it anyway.
The old school way was burlap stuff.
Yeah.
You can't just put the bags down there.
It's still powder. No, it's just strong enough to take the,
It'll harden, but it's a very brittle.
well, it's all gonna be unreinforced concrete. That's the thing. So it's all gonna be brittle anyway. That's the,
Like the Matadero Creek, when I was growing up in Palo Alto, they had water breaks with the sandbags, burlap bags filled with concrete. They, I'm very proud of it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's become interlocked and bond as one. You gotta do it all at once. Concrete mix and pour it in the bag. Pack it.
Some picking up bags and it's.
Well, they're like, they do have a tie, it's like a burlap sack, so you can roll it, This is a funky. Without getting back there, actually everything out and putting in a nice key and building up a retaining wall. I was excited to put poles in and I tried to poke down the ground and this is hard stuff anywhere.
oh, so you tried.
I tried to poke around, originally.
So, I mean, I know that, for whatever, I know folks have pluses and minuses with Jesse, but I do know that he is available to do some work. So the question is there someone who can guide him with what we want and communicate it in a way that we get the result that we want? I personally think he's done the job that we asked him to do. It's just that we didn't communicate it, that we needed it to go higher, and maybe we didn't know. I don't know. Well, he did all of the concrete work on Russell by hand, with each one bag at a time. Now, he could have gotten a pumper truck and.
Yeah, but how many feet? It's like 10 feet.
Basically, just like, all it is there. Water goes there.
Yeah.
I can meet. That's the form on here.
I saw Bruce yesterday. He said, I'm looking for stuff for Jesse to do. There you go. I mean, so, yeah.
No, I thought it was on hold.
Yeah. Yeah. So how much have we spent thus far on this? So that's nothing.
951.
Nothing. So,
It's gonna be more than that. I mean,
You don't have to spend the money, but it's easier to actually get the food, if you approve the money.
yeah. So, I feel comfortable to authorize up to $3,000 and, ask Mike to work with Jesse and Bruce to do the additional pipe repairs needed on this drain so that we're set for the winter storms. I made an official motion.
I officially.
do we need to formally say aye?
Did everybody vote for aye? Or do you?
Yeah, we need an official aye.
Okay.
Um,
So we've got a motion.
the
on
one caveat I can make in here maybe.
Yeah.
Can we ask that the estimates, before we continue far and above what the actual amount that we've approved is, that we can have Bruce talk to us and say, hey, this is gonna be different than what we thought it was gonna be, and we're gonna submit a change to this request. Opposed to we approved $2,000 and then get a $5,500 bill.
Motion is 3, but yes,
I'm
I agree.
Talking about the last job though.
Yes.
So let's just make sure Bruce can, if he's gonna submit a change order, that we can get that change order before we get. the
I will
final
talk
invoice.
to Bruce.
Well, kind of where I'm leading.
More than that, send that check this way.
Actually, Mike, if you want to.
This is a passion project for you, right? You do it at a discount.
I only do my home projects at a discount.
Okay, so there was my caveat. I think we need the official.
Okay, so the official motion was to approve upwards of $3,000 for the additional repairs on this, this swale, what do we call this thing? Drain repair.
Yeah.
And that if the actual repair is significantly more than that, we ask the contractor to come back and tell us before work is.
Yep. A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And that, I'm gonna call Bruce, let him know that Mike is gonna be calling him, but I will tell him about the caveat with the additional expense. If it goes beyond that,
Yeah.
right? That he stopped work and let us. deal with that.
Like something to think about. That was,
I think you're right.
You think we should go higher than 3?
No, I think we start there, and if there's a change request, then comes back and asks us. I mean, the offline vote works, so let's just do that.
Okay, Mike, thank you for helping us with this stuff.
I miss you. I had to come hang out.
We miss you, totally.
I had to get some pictures with the happy hair.
Our final item is drains maintenance. Now, Jean, my recollection was that you were gonna try to grab some folks and actually look at our drains and see where there was any particular maintenance that we wanted to bring forward.
Well, I saw that.
We can put,
Point it down into that.
But since we're in a schoolhouse,
thank you, Mike.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No phone calls.
the new dunce chair.
So, well, the last 14 of days, when I went out to the corner Monday, 2 or 3 of our main joint support drains had not been. So, number 1 was at the bottom of the and that place is got blackberry spices, but the opening has at least a couple of
So that's cleanup, yeah, we figured
Yeah.
it out.
but it wasn't done on cleanup day, and I'm just saying, different things, but mainly that wasn't touched, and it's one where the water falls this wide, you know, and it's steaming, and nobody had done anything about getting the water to go into it. And I did not clean out the drain intake, is what we're talking about, so, what's happening in those 2 spots is the blackberries have become impassable. Weeds in the ground. It's paid in the last 3 episodes. It's my own garden that moved up to open the top. Blackberries is taking over. And, not a lot of things to get through talking about it. The other 2 road maintenance team that they like to 200 each time, have my gardener and a helper clean up. So I'm in different stuff. Well, exactly. So I think I would like to propose that, we hire somebody who does taking the blackberries and placing it outside the woods. And get it done, because we can't go in and blackberries, the name is taking over massively, and the longer you let it go, the worse it gets. So, I mean, you can't go in there. So, there's gotta be hands, and I think we have to know that certain parts of our cleanup business are beyond capability. Because we hired the people to do the pickup, and then the last couple of weeks, you know, if you can't get people out to do stuff. You try to fix it. So I don't know what you think, but. So you guys would, if you want to benefit us.
Is it a problem for this year, like this winter? Like, do we need to clear them now? Okay.
Oh, and then you can take note that we also would be charging 200 bucks.
So I have just a question about the mechanics of it, and it's just, are these drains are on other people's properties, or?
Across, across other people's properties.
So it's just, I'm just getting my hand around, we're getting into people's properties to do work. And that is something that up to this point, we've relied on people working in their own properties.
used to be that we can. If you pay for the materials, we'll do the work, whatever, it's always passed.
Okay, well,
Property.
okay, in the last several years with this group of people that have been involved, this is something new for us, or at least it's new for me. I don't remember doing this before. I remember conversations with people that were not interested in doing things. I remember having conversations with Eugene about specific folks not letting us on their properties. No, but I don't, I think we just have to be careful about how this is a new group. This has been a reformulated group. And yes, we can look to what we've done, what groups have done in the past. But if we're going to be starting to do something new, I think we have to look at it carefully and how we do it as we're proposing, and how we bring our residents along with us.
First of all, if you do the resident district, paving is not, it's not the good time. Over to, everything that has to do with the road, the only reason is drains and so forth is because you have water. You have no road, that would take care of itself. We are taking your, instead of your house, for example, but then it goes down kind of doesn't take care of another. Traffic in this property, but then we were traffic in this property. But then we go from the Princess property, if you don't know what the drains are, you say, what they do, what they're not. Still water, still water, still water.
Well, let me,
Whoa.
Are you listening?
Well, I'm not, ooh. I think it requires some conversation.
Tell you what, the people whose property that are water crosses, they're the least likely ones to take care of the drains.
yeah, I'll offer my opinion real quick too. I do think the drains are a shared utility on the hill. And I think if we rely on the property owners to be the ones to keep them clean and to keep them in shape and so forth, I think we're probably putting ourselves at risk. And so I think we need to maybe take more of a shared responsibility at times when it comes to these major channels that are collecting drainage across the hillside. Well, I think we have to. We're going onto their property. But yeah, I think, yeah. I don't think we have any authority to enforce this position onto anybody, obviously. So yeah, we have to work with the property owner.
If we have enough manpower to actually work this process, we go through that. And if we don't, then we'll have time. I think it's good that we bring it up and it's good that we inspect on, what actually got missed. I think it's really important. And if something is missed, and then we always during the cleanup day, then let's just see on greatest solution we find.
Yeah.
Incident where we, as a road in the district, told by the town, make the train work all the way from the restaurant area intersection down to Wayside, but it's the road comes down. That's our drain, we're taking water in that particular case, it comes from Santa Maria. Used to go, there's like under the road from like the other side. They were taking that under Santa Maria, putting it into a spoon or trough, whatever you can put, and transporting it out of the house down to all the way down. So you don't have somebody else's property you can go and tearing down new fixes. If I had like Timothy, for example, crossing fences, they have a gigantic waterfall that crosses it and gets into the stuff. Oh, he wanted to fix it, and he's not the one of the first faults of the judge on the street. He did that, find that stuff down. And that's what made it better, so he made it. Yeah, and the people below.
I think that's, yeah.
Well,
Read the road map.
I think we just deserves a separate conversation, probably. We can talk through what it means. It's not something we need to solve for immediately, right? That's what we were talking about earlier, is that potentially it's something we could look at for the spring cleanup. Yeah.
We're seeing that the intake at the bottom, probably solve the problem, you can't even see any of this. Well, it's just like the same thing with these people who jumping in the water and float goes around.
We're not planning on doing that. I mean, we now, that's exactly what we're doing. But if, yes. And I believe what we asked the drain subcommittee to do, and we can revisit this again, is to do an inventory of the major drains so that we can then have that on a planned schedule of review. And we do this along with our road. We look at our road, we look at our drains, we look at whatever else is our responsibility on a periodic basis. Road day is a good time to be looking at drains, and just to make sure that we've got those drains covered. And that if it looks like they need maintenance, then we figure out a way of maintaining it. No, we don't actually have an inventory that I'm aware of.
I feel forward to that.
Well, so Gene, is your objective to try and get this solved now? Or is this something where we can probably talk through it and address the? Mhm. Yeah. 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 I mean, you heard my opinion. I like I said, I think it's a shared responsibility. They're a shared utility. I think we need to kind of maybe draw this out to say, hey, here's what we think our recommendation should be. And just make sure that we have an alignment as a group. I don't know if that's what we're hoping to get tonight. So I mean, maybe it's something we can kind of bring back at a separate conversation.
We can agendize it.
Yeah.
And the other one I didn't get on the business when we talked about where we're just brought it out, little telephone calls and holding it together. When we tried to get the polls from the computer.
All right. Yeah.
That would have been great. That's the spot. They said there's nothing in the city. So I think we
They have one next to my house they're replacing. Remember, I had to dig out the dirt to keep the, yeah, the old pole's still there. They haven't moved any of the stuff over.
I was, the old poles are good replace. This is one of David's house.
Oh, he has one. Oh, okay.
But any, along the road.
Yeah.
I would have focus. So that's really a message.
Did we have the yeah, did we have the contact info for, didn't you say that you had that?
We did. The
Yeah.
person did not respond back.
Respond back? why we need it though.
So, I don't know.
I know a guy's got a big tractor. Yeah.
Yeah, I did read something in some other forum that it seems to be a consistent message that PG&E doesn't want to give out the telephone poles anymore. I don't know why, but it's
Alright.
just, it's consistent that it's in another community as well. I think I read it on some, next door or something important.
Well, that complicates things because you're right. I think that is the right solution there. Or this is it's the cheapest and simplest.
You can see, those times ago we did. Then when someone comes out, then we react and we're gonna react. And this was it. So I'm going to see this thing.
I'll try to resurrect this person again and see whether we.
I have no idea. I don't know if it's temporary or they're gonna. Yeah. Well, that's somebody else said it to me too. They're maybe trying to get the woodpeckers off of the tree or off of those things, but I hope not. It's like kind of, yeah, it's like extra ugly.
So I was told that it's for fire prevention, that they're coated with cement, so that they're not as fire
That makes sense.
proof,
Yeah.
fire prone.
Yeah.
And then they've got the cement and then they've got some wire mesh kind of embedded around it to hopefully keep the cement from degrading and falling all over the place.
Oh, good.
So
So
God only knows what it's gonna be in, 3, 5, 10, 25 years.
should we have a fire, we'll have one telephone pole standing.
I don't know. I don't know, but that's what they told me.
Hoping they would underground as opposed to just improving their poles.
Yeah, don't hold your breath.
Yeah.
So the other thing we didn't talk about was the striping, actually, which is kind of important.
Frank's not on.
No, Frank isn't on.
Yeah, I think it's table it.
Well, can you maybe just bring it up for a half a second? So these are the people that would do quality striping, are the people that were recommended by Bortolotto. It was, I believe it was something to the tune of $11,250 to stripe the road. Talking about putting the good stuff down,
Thermoplastic.
thermoplastic,
Yeah.
and you can kind of see the details, but I believe Frank had sent us a map of where the stripes were going to be on the road, which we all looked at before he sent it to them, and that's where the quote was generated. They need 2 days of clear weather in order to come and do it.
That's the map.
And they would come with traffic control. I don't know what else there is to talk about. Yeah. Just to come out, right, that's right. 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 Oh, you're right. It does have- Well, we probably would close the road for the day. In segments, maybe.
Slurry seal in 26, yeah.
It was supposed to last 10 years under normal wear and tear.
I mean, they could, yeah, they could. Yeah, you're right. It was, so Frank's email here says 11 to 12. Okay. As the estimated cost. My opinion is we wait for slurry seal, but we can talk through that some more. Yeah.
I don't understand the whole of the part that we not to be done, I just said I was. And it didn't last. Just like the, put on,
For the buttons,
no, not.
that's right. But this is a different stripe.
Different, this is different material. I think,
Yeah.
I think this is thermo something or other, and I think the other.
Like this stuff actually raises above. But, okay, because I was walking somewhere else on here, and it's like a layer material that gets layered on top of it and melted on.
That's what they're proposing.
Yeah, and then I'm not shying away from the, oh, I think it's true, because, but
Well, it's
but I think
practically
this
all faded now. It's really bad.
Yeah, if your existing asphalt is old, in time it will crack. So I cannot give you a real time frame.
So, I would say we table this until we have all cities for the document. Definitely.
I agree.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Well, he's part of your
Yes.
paving crew, so just
Perfect.
incorporate it into that. Okay. Anything else? Motion to adjourn
Second?
in favor. And I'm gonna ask you to just wait for a minute. Let's turn